Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to all of you. Online students, please confirm if I am properly audible and visible to all of you. Please write in the comment box if I am properly audible and visible. Okay, so thank you for the confirmation. Students, we are gathered here today to discuss a very important and yet a very neglected topic, that is note making. And we have with us a very important guest and one of our very own, Shatakshi ma'am, who has scored a wonderful 204 rank this year. So she will be taking this session along with you. So make sure that you ask all aspects of note making at the very end. She will have a session with you, and at the very end you will have a Q&A session. If any doubts remains, you can ask her directly. Before I hand over to Shatakshi ma'am, I just want to ask very honestly from every one of you, how many of you feel that you read all these things, all the class notes, all the magazines, but still not able to properly comprehend? You are not able to revise properly. How many of you feel this issue when you are preparing? Please be honest and have a very interactive session. Okay? Okay, thank you. What about you, Pragya, Sahaj? So are you comfortable when you are coming from the class and you are able to remember everything, maybe in a day or in a week? Or when you are attempting the test, are you able to write everything down? So I just want to understand my audience, how mature you are. Okay, Kirti, you are not comfortable in that. How many of you have this understanding, what to write, what not to write? So some of you come to us in the mentorship sessions. In the beginning, everything seems like it's very important. Does it happen to you as well? What about you, Nikhil, Akshita? Do you feel these issues? Okay, yes. And I'm very sure 90% of the people who are starting their UPSC preparation do feel these issues in their journey. And for this very reason, Shatakshi ma'am is going to tell you what to do in this UPSC preparation for next 1 year, so that you do not struggle in note making, and then you can revise from those notes and then consolidate and then actually reciprocate in your exam hall. So let's welcome Shatakshi ma'am.
Okay, so we'll start with notes making strategy. Notes making strategy is most important for mains, but passingly, we will also discuss for prelims. Okay, there are some 6-7 subjects. What you need to do for prelims, because I have many students coming to me asking ki we know we have to make notes for mains, but what about prelims? So I'll briefly address what you have to do for prelims notes making as well. Excuse me. Okay. So now we'll begin with the prelims notes making. Okay, subject wise we'll go. This is for students who have done foundation course firstly, and also for students who have not done foundation course. For the students doing foundation course, I will address how to approach that, and those you have not done the foundation course and preparing by yourself, I'll address your doubts as well. My voice is not audible. Now am I audible? Yes. Okay. So we'll begin. Firstly, the subject. Polity. Okay. For polity, the basic book that we all know is M. Lakshmikant. But the basic doubt is the book is very bulky. Every student keeps coming that the book is very bulky. How to revise that? How to revise that? For prelims, what you need to do, you need to make consolidated notes. I made some, I think, 60 pages, 50, 60 pages notes out of Lakshmikant, and that helped me throughout. I made these notes, I think, during my second attempt. second or first attempt, I don't remember, but it helped me throughout. After that, I never revisited the book as I was just revising my notes. So how you can make notes? Line wise. For example, firstly, preamble, then the fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSP, the basics of the constitution. The basics, that means what are the federal features, what are the unitary features, the basic questions that keeps coming, that you will, the themes that you will get from the PYQs. One thing more, the questions, the notes regarding the legislature, state as well as center, judiciary and executive. These notes you can make side by side. For example, if there is president's notes, divide the page into two. You can make the notes for president here, for governor here. Okay, it will be a comparative study and it will be easier to remember these notes. Okay, so just try to make notes for the important things and keep revising it. For polity, you need these notes. And for those who have done foundation course from somewhere, you can refer to your foundation course notes and M. Lakshmikant and make these consolidated notes and revise those. At the end, it will take you not more than 5 to 6 hours to revise all of the bulky Lakshmikant in your own handwritten notes. Next comes economy. For economy, I relied completely on NCERT. Notes. Again, I made notes out of NCERT, the 11th, 12th macroeconomics, since my background was economy. So I didn't find the need to study the 9th, 10th class economy. So you can find out what works for you the best and you can make some brief notes about it. Plus the economic survey notes and the budget. How to make economic survey notes, that I will also address whenever it comes. Just keep the whole document with you, the full economic survey, and then keep this summary, any institute summary, any PDF that you can get anywhere, just keep them side by side. You read one chapter full of economic survey, then read that same chapter from that short notes and include whatever extra was here in those notes itself. So this is economy notes. See, prelims, I'm not focusing much on notes making because prelims, everybody's strategy differs. Okay, some people have very good notes, bulky notes, handwritten notes. Some do not make notes at all. Okay, like for example, in modern history, I didn't make any notes. I completely relied on the Spectrum book. Okay, I didn't make any notes for that. Then comes this art and culture. I didn't make any notes. I relied completely on the fine arts NCERT. Then science and tech. I didn't make any notes for that. Okay, so I'm just telling you for prelims, the strategy differs. I'm addressing how to make notes for prelims for some subjects because this question has been asked repetitively. Okay, our main focus will be mains notes making. So I'm just addressing this in passing. Okay, so modern history, art and culture, science and tech, and that environment. Yes, environment, I made some notes of this, the last 4 chapter of some, I think, biology NCERT of class 11th or something. I made notes out of that. That's it. And some selectively, I made notes out of Shankar IAS. So this is about this prelims notes making. You don't need to focus much. There are different strategies. Some like to study directly from Lakshmikant. Some can make notes also. But for Lakshmikant, I will suggest you to make notes. Okay, polity is the only subject I will tell you to make notes for, because otherwise it becomes very bulky. You need 2-3 days for revision. That's very not a good strategy. Okay, so you can make notes for polity. Other subjects you can just do as it suits you. Now, coming to notes making for mains. Okay, why is it essential? Firstly, let us know why is it essential. Your strategy to make notes and anything can differ. I'm here to give you a standard strategy about how I made notes and how you, those of you who are, just a second. Can you please repeat note making for polity? Sure. For polity prelims notes making, just make a comparative notes. For example, these preamble, fundamental rights, DPSP, these you will make direct notes from Lakshmikant. For subject, for topics like president and governor, the Supreme Court and the High Courts, and then Parliament and state legislatures, you can make a comparative notes. Okay, divide the page into 2 and make the comparative notes for them. This was my strategy for polity notes making. Complete your whole Lakshmikant. Try to do that in 50-60 pages. And this one more thing, this will not come after the first reading of Lakshmikant. You have to read and revise that whole book 3 to 4 times minimum before you start making those notes for polity. Other things you can revise directly from book. Okay, so now let's move to a main discussion, that is mains notes making. Why it is essential? Okay, I'm talking about essential, that means it's non-negotiable. Okay, for prelims there is a liberty, you can make notes or not make notes, but for mains it is essential. Why? Firstly, to ensure completion of syllabus. This is our especially between after clearing prelims and between we are giving mains. What happens is, the main problem we are facing is that we do not have notes. The same problem I faced during my first main, and I suffered heavily for that. Okay, I got penalized in my mains marking. I did not score very well in the GS because I did not have complete consolidated notes. My syllabus was not complete. I was studying something from here, something from some other PDF, something I bought compilation of some Supreme Court judgments, compilation of some amendments, but I did not have topic-wise consolidated notes. So after failing in my first mains, I made consolidated notes, ensured that my syllabus is complete. Okay, so right now, those who will be appearing for next year mains, you have enough time. Okay, I will not say more than enough time or less time. You have just enough time. Okay, to complete the notes making. Okay, for the most important subjects, I'll give you a list how to which subjects you have to make consolidated notes and how to make those notes. Okay, to ensure completion of syllabus, helps you to create mind maps. When you have something specific in your notes, it's easy to create mind maps. It will be easier to remember. Okay, and when you're writing in the answers, you will remember what you have written in your notes. There will be a kind of mind map. Okay, so next, better retention and personal touch to your notes. Some people say I will read topper notes and something like that, but that is not recommended. Okay, some people came to me, wanted my notes and going to other toppers asking for their notes. That is not recommended. Notes making of your own notes, okay, by in your own handwriting, that is the most essential part, because it gives a personal touch and helps you to retain better. If it is somebody else's notes, they have tailored it and made it according to their liking, their suitability. Your notes will be according to your suitability, so you have to make your own notes. Notes, n number of notes you can get in the market, but what is important is making your own notes. Okay, even if you have done your foundation course from anywhere, from this institute, from any institute, foundation course notes, along with, you have to just streamline it, okay, according to the topics of the syllabus. I will address how to do that. Okay, now quick revision, especially between prelims and mains. As I said, this is the most crucial time. Okay, what happens is, when some of us have not cleared prelims repetitively, what we tend to do is focus the entire year on clearing prelims. Like if somebody flunked prelims this year, that person will focus whole year on clearing prelims. This is what I did in my attempt in which I was not able to clear mains. I focused all my attention on clearing prelims, that I forgot to make notes, and I suffered heavily in mains. Okay, so what you need to do right now is consolidate these notes, so the time between your prelims and mains, I would not say would become a cakewalk, but would become relatively easier and better manageable. Okay. NCERT notes, so I don't suggest 6th class NCERT notes, just read it for your understanding. Okay. Now, aids in answer writing for mains. When you do not have notes, the answer writing won't come. Any templates you use, any pestle approach or stakeholder approach, syllabus mapping approach, constitutional value approach, any approach you can pick in, but when you do not have your notes, you cannot use those templates. Okay. Templates in answer writing, it's good to know to generate points, but when you do not have notes, where will you generate point from? Notes are important to enhance your understanding. That will aid you in writing these points, generating points, and then creating interlinkages. When you have notes for 2 topics, 2-3 topics, you can interlink them. You understand how one, for example, one nation, one election, it is also a problem of federalism as well as the election machinery, the representation of people act. There are 2 topics in a syllabus, the union and states and other one salient features of Representation of People Act. The issue of one nation, one election, simultaneous election is an issue that would feature in both these topics. So to create these interlinkages and understand this, you need to have consolidated notes that will give you conceptual clarity and it will further aid you in mains. Now we move on to which subject notes we need to make. Okay, firstly, other subjects also which are not mentioned here, I will address them, how to approach these subjects. But for polity, social justice, governance, IR, I have written depends, because it depends. Either you can use your foundation course notes directly, or you can get any this mains related booklet from the market, mains booklet, Vajiram's mains specific curated material that you can use for IR, or if you want to make notes, you can make notes out of these. So it completely depends on you. What is your understanding of the subject? Okay. So I had this material. I read this material from which I just made notes for myself, and I used to read that only. Then economy and agriculture, internal security. These subjects you need to make consolidated notes till December and January this year. I'm mentioning these subjects, you need to make notes, and it is possible. It is doable. Some students have been asking me, is it doable? Yes, it is very much doable. I made polity, social justice, and governance notes in 1.5 months. Okay, so it is very much doable that you complete all these subject notes till December, and in January, make short notes out of these. Okay, so I will give you a strategy how to make these notes for these subjects. I will demonstrate you how to make polity notes, and we'll proceed. Now, these subjects, other subjects. Let us address first these subjects, how to study these subjects, for which notes making is not essential, not mandatory, but you can if you want to. But these are your focus area for notes making. These are some peripheral areas. What to do for these subjects, I'll address this first. Then we will move on to how to make notes for these subjects. Ma'am, I will give my first attempt in 2027. Yes, I'm specifically talking about this year, December, January, for the students who will be appearing for next year. If you will be appearing for 2027, you have a lot of time. You can make as much detailed notes as you can. Okay, I'm specifically talking about the students who will be appearing next year for their mains. Do we have to make notes from classroom notes as well as GS classes? I will address that. For the students who have done their foundation course and who have not done their foundation course, how to approach notes making. Okay. Main summary notes of various institutes? No. Again, I said personal touch in your notes. Okay. Many institutes will give, you can use them to accompany your notes, to help you, supplement you, but those cannot be your main source. Okay. I will address all the questions. First, let me brief about the strategy. Then I'll address all your questions. You can keep typing your questions. I'll address it. Firstly, art and culture. I will tell you what I did for these subjects. Okay. And what you can do. Okay. You also pick accordingly what you need to do for these subjects. Firstly, for foundation course students who have done their foundation course, I've complete notes for these subjects, and for the students looking for self-study. For the students, firstly, I will address foundation course students. You must have done these subjects or any of these subjects from the foundation course. So just read those notes. Whatever you have studied, just rely completely on that. Don't look here and there. Whatever you are reading for these topics for your prelims purpose, just use them for mains. Just go through PYQs to understand the theme, what themes of question are coming, and just rely on your foundation course notes. Okay, that is what you can, and keep updating that with the current affairs aspect for these subjects especially. Okay, otherwise whatever foundation course notes you have, that is more than sufficient for these topics. And now coming on to the students looking for self-study or who want to add something to their notes. Okay, I would recommend not to, because you already have a lot to study. So keep studying what you already have studied. So now for the students looking for self-study for art and culture. For art and culture, what I did for art and culture was I read this CCRT notes. It's available online. There is a CCRT website. You can find it out somewhere. This is the only subject for which I made online notes for. Somebody asked about digital notes. No, I don't prefer digital notes making. That's not my cup of tea. I make physical notes. But this was the only subject for which I made digital notes. Okay, because at that time I was preparing from my hometown and the hard copy wasn't available. So if it is available to you, it's very good. Otherwise, you can study these notes. It is very good for your mains purpose. Okay, or any other source, NIUS notes or any book. I think there is an art and culture book. Anything that you find good for yourself, you can do. I'm telling you what I did. Then for modern history, I did the same what I did for prelims, spectrum plus selective reading of Bipin Chandra. So I didn't make notes for spectrum. I studied directly from the book. Some aspects were missing in spectrum, which I made notes for. Okay. So now understand what topic I made for the women, contribution of women, then contribution of foreigners, the themes which used to come in, then education and civil services, these kind of topics, which keeps featuring in your PYQs and which is not sufficiently covered in spectrum. You can see the index for Bipin Chandra and the working class movement. And yes, that's it. This is what I made notes for, some 10-15 pages extra other than spectrum. Now coming to world and post-independent history, I got some material from somewhere, some consolidated material. I didn't study this much. I won't recommend that. You have time, so you can study. I didn't have time. I didn't prepare this topic very well before my prelims, so I just prepared it selectively. Since you have time, you can study. Get any booklet or foundation course student, just study your notes. It's more than enough. The frequency of question has been reduced, so you can just, whatever notes is available to you latest, you can just study that. For society, now for society, these booklets come during your mains from Vajiram, this covering the mains issues. Okay, that booklet you can refer. For geography, your basic prelims notes plus the question in geography have evolved from physical geography to economic and human geography. Something on the lines of paper 3, environment and disaster management. So what you need to do here, just study it with the notes of environment and disaster management from paper 3. This also the mains booklet, mains current affair booklet I studied from this. For disaster management, mains current affair booklet, and same for science and tech. Okay, so I didn't feel the need because these subjects are very dynamic in nature. Static portion is very less. For example, in disaster management, there are few basics like some recommendations which would be same, National Disaster Management Authority. Some notes you can have 5 to 6 pages. Otherwise, the mains current affair booklets that are available, you can focus on these subjects between your prelims and mains. It will take you about 1 day to read one booklet. 1 full day I'm talking about, 10 to 12 hours. Environment, 1 day for disaster management, 1 day for science and tech, 1 day for society. So in 1 week, you can complete all these subjects. Right now, what you need to focus on till December and January, the notes consolidation for these subjects that I'm going to address in this session. So now let's begin. How to make notes? Firstly, the question, handwritten versus digital. Firstly, I consider this exam an old school exam. So handwritten notes were always the option for me. Okay. Digital notes, I thought it was too fancy or it was kind of a headache for me, but some people are very good in making digital notes. There are a lot of benefits for digital notes, easier access, you can search keywords and finding the notes easily and something like that. But there is one big demerit for digital notes. Okay. You keep compiling, keep the heaps. Okay. You create the heaps of notes, too much of notes, too much information. Okay. And you study too less and you collect, you become a collector of notes. Okay. Rather than studying them, you keep collecting. You found something, you'll copy it full into your into your this digital note, and you will never study it again. What happens with handwritten notes is you will write only what is important. You read an article, you will not, for example, if I read an article in the Hindu, okay, we don't need to make notes from this newspaper. I'm just giving you an example. Say I studied an article online, okay, about one nation, one election. And if I find only 3 to 4 lines in that article very useful, I will write those 3-4 lines, some suggestion, for example, including all the doing all the elections in a year, in a calendar year together. I found this recommendation only helpful in that article. I will just write that in my notes under election commission notes or somewhere, wherever I find the space for. But what happens in digital notes is we'll copy the whole article, we'll highlight them, then when we have to study, it becomes too bulky, okay, and it just scares you. So that's why digital notes was not the thing for me to go. Handwritten notes was my thing. If you are very good and if you want to go for digital notes, you can go. I'm just telling you what I did. So now, static and basics. What your notes must include. Firstly, the static and the basics. I'll give you the example. What happens when you include the basic things is that if a bouncer question comes, or if a question comes which you are not much aware of, but you have written some basics about that topic, so it will be easier for you to generate points. Okay, I will show you how this helps. Contemporary and current events you need to include. Focus on issues and not on events. The difference between issues and not events. News versus issues. Their repetitive news of one governor of one state made a remark on the chief minister. Then there is 3 days later, another governor of another state made a remark on chief minister. Then a speaker made a remark on judiciary or something like that. There are n number of news in the newspaper. But what you need to focus is on issues. In the governor issue, you have to focus on what is the issue, the underlying issue which is causing this kind of problems in the polity of the country. So the issues you need to highlight and not the politics that is happening day by day. Secondly, in that speaker making a comment on the judiciary, you have to understand separation of power. That is the underlying issue. News versus the issue. You have to make your preparation issue-based, not news-based. That's why I suggest not making the current affair notes. That is why you can just get current affair, read a newspaper daily. That is non-negotiable. You have to read the newspaper daily to get these themes, get these issues in your head, and then use the current affair booklets, the recitals or anything to add up to your notes. Updating the notes, leave space. For example, if you made notes for basics and the contemporary issues under federalism, then leave 10 pages so that if another issue crops up till your run up to mains, you can add there. It requires consistent updating, which requires you to read newspaper daily. Newspaper reading. Last, not the least, short notes by interlinks. Many students have come to me asking how to make short notes, But this is the last step, not the first. You cannot start your preparation by making short notes. Okay, you have to start your preparation by making the big bulky consolidated notes. After revising it 1 to 2 times, then it comes the time to make short notes. Preferably January. Till December, complete your notes making. In January, you can make the short notes for all the notes, the bulky notes that you have made. Class notes, but definitely at the very end. Again, there is a difference between class notes and the notes making I'm talking about. The class notes, the foundation course student, you have got a lot of notes and that is very good for your understanding and for giving you content. But it is even after you have done your foundation course, your personal, your own notes making, that is non-negotiable. That is important. That notes making I'm talking about. Okay. Even when you have class notes, you need to make your own notes out of that. That will help you. Okay. I will tell you how to make those notes. So, what to include? Firstly, any topic, you need to include 3 C's. That is the causes, concerns, and the corrective measures. What is the underlying cause for the existence of something, the significance of something, the causes of the problems, the concerns related to that, and the corrective measures. Okay, the issues, challenges, and the way forward. Then, will I get the recorded session? Yes, the video will be uploaded on the YouTube for you to access it. Now, case studies, some good case studies, your content to differentiate it, you just add some good few examples that we talk about. You need to have some good examples, not as the something else compiled examples to be used in UPSC mains. No, I'm not talking about that. These examples need to be integrated in your own notes under every topic. Self-help groups, you need to have some concrete examples there. Education topic, you need to have examples there. You cannot compile a different booklet for examples to be used in UPSC mains. No, that you need to do yourself for every topic in the syllabus. Is making current affairs notes advisable? I just addressed that making current affairs notes. I didn't used to make current affair notes except for the interview preparation. So I don't suggest making current affairs notes. Already you have a lot to do, so don't complicate your preparation by that. Then some data, diagrams, and case laws. Very important. So the trend of UPSC has been to include case laws. So you need to include these things in your notes. Now, I'll demonstrate you one subject, how to make notes of this subject. I'm getting a lot of questions regarding to polity notes making. That's why I will demonstrate how to make topic-wise notes for polity. Every topic in the syllabus of GS2, the polity and constitution part, how to make notes for each topic, I will address that here. And by this, you can take a clue how to make notes for social justice, governance, internal security, economy, and agriculture. For every topic, how you need to approach notes making, now we will see. So the major themes. These are the major themes given in your syllabus. I have just made a mind map out of your syllabus. This is everything what is given in your syllabus. I have not created anything here. Constitution, SOP, then union, states, local governance, legislature, election. This, I think, criminal justice system I've included because it is also a part of your overall working of the polity and constitution. This I've included because this you need to study. Rest everything, this is written bodies. Okay, the constitutional and the non-constitutional bodies. Okay. So these are the themes. Now, first topic, okay, constitution. What you need to include in the basics, the static that I was talking about, and the current events that you need to include in your notes. And apart from this, this list is not is exhaustive till date is concerned. Your means is next year. So the issues will crop up in news plus. Okay, these issues plus whatever news will surface in the coming year, you need to keep including, adding to this. So after making this notes for constitution, I think it will take you around 50 pages to make notes for constitution itself. Other topics are comparatively smaller, but for constitution, you need to make bulky notes because this will help you throughout paper 2, even in your social justice, in your governance part as well. Okay, and even in economy. So you need to make big bulky notes for this polity part of your paper 2. So now basics will include preamble, fundamental right, and this one more thing. Your book M. Lakshmikant is very much sufficient, more than sufficient for your prelims preparation, but not for your mains. For the foundation course student, you have done your foundation course. You can include that is subject wise. You can pick the topics wherever these topics have been taught. Just pick it from there and make your own handwritten notes, other than the class notes. And for the students going for self study, you can type these topics on Google. You can type basic structure doctrine UPSC. You'll get n number of articles. Study from all those articles and make consolidated notes. Don't be repetitive, rewriting everything given in every article. No, just write some. If you find something new in the other article, just add up to your notes. Once you have made notes for this basic structure, don't look anywhere else. Just go through your own notes. That is more than sufficient. For constitutional morality, same. Type constitutional morality UPSC. You will get a lot of articles. You can go to news section or some websites, coaching websites, and you can make your own notes. This for the basic comparison of constitution, the spirit of transformative constitution. There are many articles regarding this. Just study them. Take time, study one topic one day and make notes out of it. At the end of the day, and after you make the notes for this topic, you don't need to go anywhere else. Now, topics in news. These topics were in news, so these were included in my notes, what I had in my notes. For example, reservation, subcategorization issue, then media, hate speech. These Actually, these issues are not current affairs. These are contemporary issues. These issues have been relevant for the past 3 to 4 years. The ban on the film and this hate speech, internet shutdowns, this has been a recurring theme in our Indian polity for the past 3-4 years. And how do you get these themes? How do you understand what is happening in the polity? By reading newspaper. Newspaper will help you to make notes like nothing else. Okay, so just keep reading newspaper to make constant updation to your notes. Now then, freedom of religion all has been in news for the past. Uniform civil code after the Uttarakhand UCC, this has become very much relevant. Then live-in relationship featuring in Uttarakhand UCC, so it became very much relevant. You can connect. Now, why is this basics notes important? I'll give you an example. You have notes for this preamble, fundamental rights, DPSP, doctrines of constitutional interpretation, basic structure, constitutional morality, transformative constitution. Okay, and comparison of constitution. Now, if a question comes on live-in relationships, to analyze it constitutionally or something, just some question, just 3-4 hyperbolic lines are there, and then they are asking you essentially the issues regarding this, or the why it should be something, anything like that. So how can you generate points for this? If it is not included in your notes, you can use the content from here to make answer for this. Live-in relationships, you can use these things. Preamble, the equality, liberty, the principle of liberty can be used here. Then from fundamental rights, again, freedom of expression can be used. And then from DPSP, Indian state is not a police state but a welfare state, so it cannot intrude in personal lives. Then doctrines of constitutional interpretation, to give again liberty, justice to people, basic structure. You can it will help you remember some case laws where liberty was identified as one of the basic structure of the constitution. Constitutional morality is over and above the social moralities. How social morality just looks down upon live-in relationship, but constitutional morality will protect it. Then transformative constitution, the spirit of transformative constitution, article 21 is also include, right to privacy is also included in article 21. So live-in relationships becomes an essential part of right to privacy. And then comparison of constitution also, even in the constitution of US from which India has taken liberty, also allows something like that. Some points you can generate. So that is what helps you. When you have these basic notes ready with you, it will help you to generate points for all the topics, even if you don't have notes for these. Okay, say live-in relationships, a question appears, you have not made notes for that, but you can answer that question when you have these in your notes. If you don't have these in your notes, you will not remember, you will not retain things to answer these kind of questions. Okay, so now next topic is separation of powers. You need to have some basic idea about the constitutional articles related to separation of power. Then functional overlap, how legislature overlaps with executive and judiciary, how executive overlaps with legislature and judiciary, how judiciary overlaps with legislature and executive. Some 2 to 3 points, how their functions overlap, and the doctrine of constitutional checks and balances, why this is important. Some Supreme Court judgments related to that. For example, Raj Narayan case. If any question related to SOP, separation of power, comes, I used to use this Raj Narayan case. How could I use that? Not because I had this separate PDF with me which said that the Supreme Court judgments to be used in UPSC mains. No, I was able to use Raj Narayan case in my answer because it was mentioned under separation of power notes in my own handwritten notes. Okay, so this is the reason, this is the essentiality for which you need to make notes. It will help you remember all these cases in a better manner. Now in news. Now again, when you are thorough with the basics, it helps you to compartmentalize the current affairs. Okay, whenever you read something in the newspaper, it will, your basic understanding, your basic notes will help you to identify which news article will feature under which subtopic in your syllabus. This is the second essentiality of having consolidated notes. It will guide your preparation. It will help you to analyze the current affairs and the initially that I mentioned, news-based preparation versus issue-based preparation. It will help you to identify the underlying issues. Okay, which constitutional machinery is involved in a certain dispute. Okay, what issues, the underlying issue, like for example, separation of power, the collegium system, NJAC. Repetitively, this news features, for example, that there needs to be the appointments of judiciary needs to be rationalized, the executive needs to be made a part of. And for example, this Supreme Court judgment, Anup Baranwal case, which said that members from judiciary and opposition party need to be a part of a collegium which decides the election commissioner of India. So these things essentially feature itself under separation of power heading. When you have this understanding through your notes will give you conceptual clarity, which will help you to identify these topics and compartmentalize it accordingly. Now, next, this union and states federalism. I keep giving this example. The basic amphibian constitution, federal and unitary features, division of power, cooperative, competitive, and conflictual federalism, emergency, interstate river water dispute, and committee recommendations. These things I had in my notes for the basics. Okay, if any question related to federalism comes, even if I have not studied it, I can answer it by using these static dimensions. And for the in-news dimensions, fiscal federalism, since a new finance commission was constituted, so fiscal federalism became very important. This has become important in the past 4 or 5 years since the GST council issue, the GST compensation cess issue. This issue has become very contemporary in nature. So maybe it can feature in your static part as well, rather than in news. Fiscal federalism have consolidated notes for this. The national language issue, asymmetric federalism, there's a demand from Bihar and Andhra Pradesh about special category status, then the governor issue, then this Korean committee. This Korean committee was not in my notes because this, I think, it was formed, constituted a few months back. So I've included it here so that you add it in your notes. So this is how you'll prepare for union and states federalism. And see, the list I've given, I have tried my best to make this list exhaustive. If you think any other thing can be added in the static part and in the contemporary part, so you can add accordingly. Okay, I'll answer all the questions together to avoid disrupting the flow. Then local governance. Local governance, it's one of the easiest part. You can make the notes for this in 2 days. Even if you have never studied about this, then also you can make this notes for local governance part in 2-3 days. These topics will take you a lot of time. It will consume a lot of this. Constitution part will take you around 10 days to complete the notes for this. Then for separation, this you can do in 1 day. This will take you another 10 to 15 days to complete the notes. This you can complete in 2 days. Okay, and if you have your foundation course notes or you have studied it before, so it's easily doable in a day or 2. There's nothing to explain. The self-explanatory points are there. Then legislature. Again, this looks exhaustive, but it will get completed in 7 to 8 years. I'm answering your question also, that is it realistically possible to complete them? Okay, since you graduated and if you want to appear for next year, you can try this. You can study it daily, and for subjects like polity and the subjects I mentioned, it is possible to make notes for these subjects. I'm not telling you to make notes for all the subjects, but for the most important subjects, you can make notes till December. Okay, it's very much doable. So now some basic notes. Why is legislature a temple of democracy? Why it is a bedrock of rule of law? These kind of things I used to use. It was in my notes. That's why I was able to use it in the paper. Any question related to parliament or some legislature came, this was always my introduction. In all the test series, even in mains, it came. Okay, why was I able to do it? Not because I had a compilation of good keywords to be used, but because this featured in my notes. Okay, the basics of the constitution, the presiding officers, parliamentary. So why is India having parliamentary sovereignty or constitutional sovereignty? Okay, this parliamentary committees. These are the basics. And then in news, parliamentary committees, they say this is recently featuring a lot in your current affairs as well. So you don't need to study all the parliamentary committees. You can study parliamentary committees in news. For example, ethics committee was in news recently during my mains. So I studied about ethics committee. So parliamentary productivity is decreasing, the more centralizing tendency toward the executive. Again, when you read newspaper, you get these trends. By repetitively reading the editorials and the news which are featuring, you will be able to identify that parliamentary productivity, the decreasing parliamentary productivity, is the issue that our constitutional, that our polity is facing right now. Anti-defection law, role of opposition is decreasing, and sometimes it is becoming very aggressive, uh, and that is a good trend, that opposition becoming increasingly proactive, because it has been criticized for the past few years to become inactive. Right now it has again become very proactive, so this is again a trend. Women's reservation in parliament, this was the recent issue. Any recent amendments, and by recent amendments, I do not mean only the recent amendments which were made, but the amendments which were in news. For example, if any amendment completed 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, for example, during my first mains in 2023, I think this local governance, this Panchayati Raj Amendment Act completed 30 years. So that was in news and it came in the mains. And any Supreme Court judgment which completed some years, I think Keshwan and Bharti case completed some 50 years during my first mains, so it became very much relevant that year. So these kind of topics you need to make notes for every topic. Again, I will again reiterate how to make notes for these. For the foundation course student, you already have notes, but it must be not be topic wise. You have to just arrange it topic wise by writing it again. It will take a lot of effort right now, but believe me, it will reap you dividends like anything. Okay, so just invest time right now. A student was asking me question, is it worthy to invest time here? It is worthy. Okay, and you will realize when you will write between your time between prelims and mains, you will thank yourself for making these notes, because things will become a lot smoother for you. So just type on Google parliamentary sovereignty versus constitutional sovereignty, and you will get a lot of articles. Just pick out from there, make your own notes in 2 pages, 2 to 3 pages for parliamentary sovereignty, and accordingly, whatever is required. Now, next is executive, the basics, president, vice president, council of ministers, the news, ordinance making, centralization of power, and veto. These were in news, so I could draft this much. You can keep adding up to this list. This I'm just giving you an index through which you can make notes for polity, a template, a skeleton I'm giving you, under which you have to just keep making notes. Just keep it in front of you and keep adding on to this list. In the basics, if you get something good, and even in news, you get something, just keep adding on to your notes. Consistent updation. In the how to make notes section, I wrote consistent updating. Okay, that you need to constantly do. Now, judiciary, the basic jurisdiction, power, impeachment, judicial review, judicial appointments, PILs, and tribunals. Now, this part in news. This is always in news. Judicial accountability. Again, this is not in news. This is the issues, the contemporary issues which our political landscape is facing for the past 5 years, and if I'm not overstretching it, past 10 years. Okay, women in judiciary. Since our former Chief Justice of India, C.V. Ramanna, he made a statement about requirement of reservation in judiciary. And why does this become relevant again? Firstly, because of Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam Act, women reservation in parliament, and secondly, this issue of 3 years requirement for practice, after which you can appear for the civil judge exam. The recent decision. There's a certain criticism for this, that this will prevent inclusion of women in judiciary. Okay, so there's a direct implication of this. That's why this becomes very much relevant. Okay. Now, alternate dispute resolution, online dispute resolution, these have been in news for the past. On alternate dispute resolution, it became again important because of Mediation Act which came. It came during my means, so I have included it here because it's very important. A question didn't come on this, so it may appear. Online dispute resolution, national litigation policy came recently. All India Judicial Services, there is a continuous, constant demand for this, and any recent judgments. Okay. Now, elections, the basic articles, the basic things that you need to have. Again, here you will see if you have these static notes, it will help you in writing answers for all of these. Okay, you know political parties, you will make notes by 3C's approach. The causes, why they exist in our political landscape, then the concerns related to them, and the corrective measures. That is the way forward. Using these, you can use those recommendations in a lot of answers. Okay. So criminalization of politics, Supreme Court judgments, and political parties, and in news. One Nation, One Election, CEC Act, electoral freebies, intra-party democracy, delimitation, and all these topics. Okay. Now I think this is last and second last. Criminal justice system, it became relevant because of the new criminal laws which were passed, and the constant demand for updating. Only making changes in criminal laws is not sufficient, but making changes in police, prison, bail laws, and a lot of other things is required, and judiciary as well, that is also a stakeholder in criminal justice system. So because of passing of the new criminal laws, the focus on this has increased. That's why I've included criminal justice system as a separate theme in your polity. You need to make a very detailed notes for this to understand, to gain conceptual clarity regarding this. Okay. Now, lastly, the whatever bodies that are in news. So this is how you can make notes. Just list the topics, the static part, what you need to include, the current affairs part. Just if you have foundation course notes, pick out from there, make topic wise notes. And if you have not done foundation course anywhere, you are looking for a self study, then you can use Google freely. Some videos are uploaded freely on YouTube. You can use them to understand some topic. I'll show you some of my notes. Like, see this. Interstate river water dispute. How to go about this? Firstly, I wrote, is it visible to you? Can anybody answer, is it visible to you, or do I need to zoom it? Zoom, okay. I think it will get blurred if I zoom it. I'll read it out to you. Okay. This was the topic under federalism. I mentioned in the notes, the topic listing also. Interstate river water dispute. It featured under the static part. Okay. So now under interstate river water dispute, I wrote two this quotes. Okay. What helps here, having these two quotes only here, it will help me to create mind maps. Whenever if there is a question related to interstate river water dispute, I will remember, okay, I wrote two quotes there, and I will remember and I will start the answer with that. It will give me a ready-made template. Your notes are the best template that you can have. Okay, this pestle approach and everything, that is very good, but your notes are non-negotiable. Okay, this is the best template that you can have. Now, water conflicts and water seems to be percolating to grassroots in India. Rivers are a shared heritage of a country. They should be the strings that unite us and not the strings that divide us, by Dr. Manmohan Singh. And what these notes help also now is, even if you do not remember this quote directly, what you can do is you'll remember something related to federalism and something related to strings of unity was mentioned. So you can make your own quote also. So it helps you there. Now, what is the constitutional position related to that? The very basic thing. Some issue is there. What is the constitutional position? What is the legal position? And what is the institutional position regarding that? That I've written: constitutional, legal position. Then IAS interstate river water dispute. Some bill came that time, so I've included that. Then reason, the causes for interstate river water disputes. Historical and geographical ambiguities, I've written some point. I got these from somewhere. I typed it on Google and I got it, these articles from some different articles, and I included these in my notes. So historical, geographical ambiguities, constitutional ambiguities, and then institutional ambiguities. There's three stresses. Something I got, something whichever I got from, I don't remember from which particular source I got it from multiple sources. That's why I'm not mentioning the source here. Okay, the issues regarding that. Then political issues, socioeconomic issues, environmental issues, legal and governance issues. Then next comes the committee recommendations, causes, causes, and then concerns, and then committee recommendations for corrective measures. Sarkaria Commission, second ARC, Mihir Shah committees. Again, What helps online studies? Just searching through multiple articles. This here, Sarkaria Commission and second ARC, everybody knows. I got this Mihir Shah committee. I read some article there, this Mihir Shah committee recommendation feature, so I included this in my notes. Then best practices. I typed best practices related to interstate river water disputes. I got these 2-3. Germany, Australia, and this GST Council model. This I thought myself that there's a pooled sovereignty model, so that could also be applicable here. When you keep making notes now, it will enable you to think. This exam is about thinking. Okay, you have to think what you can write, how you can connect. Now, next, the way forward. The committee recommendations. Your way forward does not only constitute of only committee recommendations. Some other specific, like for example, best practices or something is required. Some good keywords. So that I've included in way forward. Now coming to making short notes. Repetitive question: how to make short notes? Can we start by making short notes? No, you can end your syllabus, your notes making procedure and the steps by short notes. Okay, after I completed everything, these detailed notes, I made short notes. I'll show you one short note for which I made for self-help groups. In my detailed notes, I must have written why is self-help groups important, what issues they are facing, how can we improve them, where they are situated, the data. Like I showed you for interstate river water dispute, I had some good quotes for there, some good data for it, and some significance issues, challenges, way forward, and everything I had. But these are my short notes for SHGs. What I had in my short notes is this. Firstly, the data. 1.2 crore SHGs in the country, 88% owned and led by women, and 50% are situated in 4 southern states. Then bank repayment rate is more than 96%, which implies fiscal discipline. And then comes the quotes that I have written: by women, for women, of women, power to power with and power within. India has transformed from women development to women-led development. Then self-help groups need to be transformed to national help groups. Government wish to create unicorns among SHGs. Okay, I wrote this. Then some good ideas, A World of True Zeros by Muhammad Yunus. Then Panch Sutra of SHGs. Then Professor J. Stiglitz's idea of fourfold capital development, natural materials. Some good ideas which were there in my notes. I have not included what is the significance, what are the concerns, and what are the way forward. Just I have written the extra information, the data, the case studies, and some good ideas and some good keywords which were there in my short notes. And this ends here. And this is a small diary. This is not even a big page. This is a small diaries page. Okay. So here it ends by including some good case studies like Jivika program from Bihar, Mission Shakti Odisha, Kudumbashree, looms of Ladakh. Kudumbashree is overly used. Okay. So you can use other looms of Ladakh, sanitary napkins, production by SHG in Halai Kandi, Assam. See, I'm able to read this even if it is blurred because these are my own notes. That is what I'm saying, personal touch. You will remember it like anything. I've gone through this so many times. I can even read it if it's stretched beyond a limit and it is completely blurred. Then also I will be able to read it because these are my own notes. This is the essentiality by which you need to, because of which you need to make your own notes. Millet Sisters Network. Now this thing is very important. This that you see in this pink box, what is this? This is the interlinkages. Okay, we all hear all the toppers saying make interlinkages, cross connections, cross fertilization of content, and all these things. How do you do that? In your short notes. This was my SHG short notes. Here I have written use data and content from women, education, health, poverty, hunger, employment, vulnerable section, and inclusive development. I can, if a question related to SHG comes and I don't remember this, or if something happens, if there is a very particular question, or I'm not able to generate points or something, these interlinks will help. I can use content and data from all these topics here. And if a question comes related to poverty, health, I can use SHG's content there. How to break the cycle of poverty, I can use this example of looms of Ladakh or this sanitary napkins halai candy of Assam. Okay. So these interlinkages you have to make in your short notes. Just make the short notes, at the end write the interlinks across the paper. Not only SHG features in paper 2 syllabus of the under social justice, you can interlink it with paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, as well as even ethics. Okay, so bring in the ethical dimension in SHG as well. So this is what you can do. So this is where I end my strategy for notes making with short notes. As I said, making short notes is the last step. So I end my strategy session with this last step. Now you can proceed with your questions. So we can have an Q&A session here. Sure. Ma'am, should we finish one subject and go for another, or we should simultaneously study all subjects? Okay, see, these are two kinds of approaches. What I did was I can study only one subject at a time. So when I started polity, I continuously studied polity and made notes for it in some 1 month or 1 to 1.5 months. So polity, social justice, governance. I started making this. I was a bit late. I started after mains results were out, and I did not clear mains. So I did this during December and January. So I was able to do that one subject at a time. Okay, because it helps you get into that inertia, and that it gives you a flow, because you need a flow to make notes. You cannot just compartmentalize and box up your preparation here and there. You need to just make your notes in a natural flow, in a cohesive manner. So I would suggest go one subject at a time. Can I access this class later as recordings? Yes, I think it will be. Yes, it will be uploaded on the YouTube and you can have it. By when should we start making notes? Today? I cannot hear. Ma'am, about optionals, I am a BBA graduate. Can I opt for management? I have viewed the syllabus and I'm familiar. If you find for optional, my criteria was my optional subject was sociology, and it was one of my graduation subjects. I opted for it not because it had a smaller syllabus, but my criteria was, can I sit with this subject for 10 hours for continuous 7 days, 10 to 12 hours for continuous 7 days. You need to have that much interest, that much invested you must be in your optional to pursue it. If you're that much interested in the subject, you can definitely pick it. How to interlink notes for optional like PubAd with GS? I don't think you need to interlink your optional notes with GS. You need to create a difference between both. I can tell you for sociology, because a lot of question, like for example, live-in relationships, the question I analyzed here, that can appear in paper 1 and paper 2, GS paper 1 and GS paper 2 also, and my optional also. But the answer that I will be writing for optional and GS, that will be completely different. So I don't think you have to create much interlinks between that. I've done masters in biology. Can you please ask questions related to GS? Not only notes making, you can ask question related to GS, because my optional is sociology. I will be able to answer only sociology related questions, and that will waste time of a lot of people who don't have that optional. When would you finish your optional? Again, optional, try to complete it by November, December, most probably. Is handwriting needed to be intelligible or attractive? Handwriting is needed for main. Legible. Okay, I'll not say beautiful handwriting is needed, but it needs to be legible. You are able to read it, because if your handwriting is not beautiful, that is okay, but the reader must make something out of it. It must understand your handwriting. That needs to be there. Is it good to make main specific notes completed by January, and then while focusing on presents and the reader? Complete all your notes making by January. After January, focus completely on prelims. What you can avoid making mains updation or anything during those period, you will be reading current affairs for prelims only. What you can do is just take a different colored pen, use red color for prelims and green color for mains. Just stick it from a green pen, what you will be later using it during your mains preparation, and that time you can update it. But from February, just please focus on prelims. Ma'am, how to develop the thought process for writing way forward, conclusion, and answers? That will come when you have consolidated notes. This whole session was about notes making. When you have these consolidated notes, it will automatically come in your answer writing. I wanted to ask that I had handwritten notes for some GS topic, and for some I had notes marked in a single group, as I am able to revise them. See, this scattered, I was also able to revise during my first mains. My notes were also scattered. Some were in my notes, some I had this PDS. I was able to revise, but I was not able to remember it during the exam. Okay, when you have consolidated notes at one place, you will be able to remember and retain better. Revising is very okay. You can revise from scattered sources very easily. But remembering that, especially in an exam like situation, is very difficult if you do not have it in a consolidated form. So please make it in a consolidated format. And how to integrate a foundation course notes, newspaper notes, current affair batch notes, and when. Right now, right now is the time. Pick one subject. Most preferably start with polity, because if you have a strong base in polity, social justice and governance will become a bit easier. So start with polity. And how to integrate our notes, I give you a detailed strategy. Just pick out, for example, federalism, whatever is given in your notes, just use that. And if you find that if it is deficient, so you can use Google and you can make your own notes with that. Topic wise notes, as the topic I mentioned for polity. So this you have to do for all the subjects. I mentioned, I demonstrated how to do notes making for polity. This exercise you have to do in all the subjects that I mentioned in the beginning, those 6-7 subjects. Okay. How do you make modern history notes? I did not make modern history notes. I used to study it from Spectrum, and then I made very selective 10 to 15 page notes from Bipin Chandra, the topics that were missed in this Spectrum. How do you solve them? Again, from where we can get access to your notes, I address this. Making your own notes is essential. I have no problem in sharing my notes, but that will be a problem for you if you depend on somebody else's notes. There's no problem. I have a good handwriting, you will be able to understand those notes. But when you do not have your own notes, you won't be able to write in the exam. Okay, so that is the problem with relying and depending on somebody else's notes. This whole session was about making your own notes, not getting someone's notes. Okay, so try to make your own notes. When is the right time to make notes? Right now. Start from today. I've given you a detailed strategy. I mentioned the subjects. So pick your favorite subject, preferably polity. That's why I've detailed about polity, because polity creates a basis and understanding for you, which will help you in all the other subjects. Do you go directly PYQ theme? See, PYQs for prelims, you have to do 4 to 5 times. But when it comes to mains, go through past 5 years PYQs, bring out the themes. By themes, I mean the kind of questions that are being asked. Like, for example, in social justice, the kind of questions that are the theme is mixing three subtopics. They will mix SHG with poverty, poverty with education, and create a very confusing question. Okay, so this is the theme in social justice. So try to read the PYQs and make a list of themes. What kind of questions are being asked and what areas are being focused. This is a one-time exercise. Take a week, study all the PYQs, bring out the themes, what kind of questions. Like, for example, in art and culture, the themes is the Buddhism, the South Indian dynasties, and this architecture. Okay, this is a very important and recurrent theme from the past few years. So you can focus accordingly. Should notes be integrated? How should overcome grammatical mistakes? Just read newspaper. Okay, and it will become a lot easier to you. What do you foundational subject first or GS wise? Topic wise, you can start. Like, for example, polity and constitution, just start with the first. I detail the sub themes. You can start with that. What should be the length? Just a second. Length for short notes, 1 page, not more than 1-2 page, not more than the short. And first make the detailed notes, then focus on short notes, and that should not be more than 1 page. Then, but ma'am, our classes are like different subject every day, non-continuity, no structure. How to manage this, as it creates a lot of problem and mismanagement and lack of clarity. What you can do for this is just take 2-3 days in a week where you will study only one subject. Okay, whatever classes are happening, just keep making class notes for that, but keep one subject to yourself. For self study, just focus on one subject. That is what you can do. Should we make notes from every word mentioned in the syllabus? Most probably, yes. Like, for example, in agriculture, in paper 3, every word is important. For example, the food processing industries, then comes the marketization, then FPI, food subsidy, something like that. Every word is important there. Ma'am, overall revision strategy, all subjects. Okay, till December, try to make notes for all these subjects. I'll give you a brief timeline how to do that. And then in January, make short notes by just going through that. And then again, between prelims and mains, you can revise it 2 to 3 times. When you have these consolidated notes and short notes, between prelims and mains, every subject you can revise 2 to 3 times. And that is very much possible. Right now, just focus on consolidating your notes, and revision will come in January first time, and then between prelims or mains 3 to 4 times. Ma'am, should we make notes on PYQ or syllabus? Syllabus. Should we write brief notes or in short forms? Whatever is understandable to you. Again, for current affairs notes, I didn't make current affairs notes. I made issue based. Whatever issue was featuring in the news, I used to read The Hindu every day. And then at the month end, whenever monthly magazine used to come, I used to read that. And I used to underline with red pen whatever was important for prelims. And I used to underline with green pen whatever was important for mains. And then whatever was important for mains, I kept updating in my notes, in my register. Schedule of the day, you can just pick out the best time that worked for you. Mine was morning time worked for me, so I used to study from 5 o'clock in the morning. If night time works better for you, that is okay. But one more thing, just before your mains and just before your prelims, just coordinate your body's circadian rhythm with the exam based preparation. Don't wake up at night, preferably study in the morning. Now, coaching notes should be consolidated first. I've addressed these questions. How to remember the minute details in polity, that will come when you make notes. Trust me, just make these notes, make short notes, and you will be amazed how you are able to remember all these details. It will become a cakewalk. This is one of the things which I mentioned why notes making is essential. You will be able to remember a lot of things. For how long should we revise making notes? How did you differentiate between content from newspaper for pre and mains? That comes from PYQ analysis. Newspaper analysis video, no, don't go by newspaper analysis video. Read the newspaper yourself. You don't need to go by this newspaper analysis video. And if you're starting newspaper reading right now, then you can just go through it for a few times, but then please rely on yourself. So I think the questions are over. Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope you make your notes very well and study well. So all the best to everyone. Prepare well.
So thank you, everyone. I hope all your concerns have been addressed wonderfully by Shatakshi ma'am. If any questions are left, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll wrap up this session. And I hope whatever Shatakshi ma'am has told you, you will implement that in this upcoming year, right? And that is very important because, again, strategy is one thing, application is another thing. So what you have to understand is now you have got the basics, how to prepare for next year's note making. But ensure that whenever you are taking up notes, you are revising it regularly, refining it regularly. Because without revision, without refinement of notes, you will not sail through this exam very easily. Anushka, you have, obviously, yellow book actually helps. But again, you have to guess where you are right now, right? So all these things will be there. So idea is, if, again, you have the strategy with you, but if you need any help, we are there for you. We at Step Up Apprenticeship Program will be there for you. So our batches are going to launch a new batch 14th of August. So in this, we will handhold you, we'll prepare you for the note making and various other aspects. So basically, our dedicated mentor will be there to guide you through all these things, right? So there will be test series, there will be current affairs classes, there will be essay sessions. So you can download the brochure, and I hope to see you in the program. If you have any queries, you can call our number as well, right? So this is it for today's session. I hope you have learned a lot. Now let's go and apply that. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for attending the session.